If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below and tell us which of the stories was your favorite. If you want to hear your own story on our channel, please send to winterferencestories@gmail.com. Enjoy the video. I rented the lake house because I needed quiet. I was tired of the city sounds bleeding through my walls, tired of people brushing past me in grocery aisles like I was invisible, tired of phones ringing and elevators humming and cars starting and brakes squealing. I wanted silence, emptiness, stillness. The listing was perfect. Remote but modern. A long gravel road winding through pines, opening up to a wide, smooth lake and a house with glass windows, a wraparound deck, and private water access. The nearest town was 30 minutes away, and the host assured me there were no other properties immediately adjacent. That was almost true. Across the lake, about 500 feet, maybe more, was another house. Smaller, older, with a steep triangular roof and a narrow dock like a tongue stretched into the water. I saw it the first day, just sitting there, half swallowed by trees. The curtains were drawn. The dock had weeds growing between the planks. I figured it was abandoned or off-season, maybe owned by someone who didn't come up anymore. I liked that. It made the whole place feel more mine. That night I was on the deck finishing a drink when I noticed a light come on in that house across the lake. Just one, an upstairs window. At first it didn't strike me as odd. Maybe someone else had rented it, or maybe the owner had shown up. But the light was strange. It wasn't the usual warm glow of an incandescent bulb or the sharp blue of a modern LED. It was dim, almost flickering, like a candle behind yellow glass. It stayed on for about 15 minutes, then blinked off. No movement, no shadows, just light, then dark. The next night, same thing. Right around 10 p.m., the upstairs window lit up. No other lights. No noise across the water, no reflections on the surface. The rest of the house remained completely black. That night I stood by the glass door inside, watching. Something about it was making my chest tight. The way it turned on, sharp and sudden, like someone had been standing perfectly still in the dark and just reached up to pull a chain. I didn't like how precisely it happened, how nothing ever changed. By the third night my nerves were raw. The light came on again. Same time, same place. I decided to do something stupid. I reached over and turned off my living room lamp. A beat passed. Then the window across the lake went dark too. I waited. Turned it back on. The upstairs window lit up again. Back off. Theirs, off. That's when I realized I wasn't watching something. It was watching me. I shut off all the lights in the house and moved to the far side toward the trees. I waited there in the dark with my heart racing. I didn't want to look, but I had to. When I peeked back out across the lake, the light was still on. The window glowed like an eye. It didn't turn off again. I didn't sleep much that night. My dreams were scattered flashes, glass breaking underwater, figures standing on the shore, a cold, wet hand gripping my ankle and pulling me off the dock. The next morning I tried to find a rational explanation. Maybe someone was messing with me. Maybe it was motion activated. Maybe there was a generator malfunction, something. I contacted the rental host and asked about the other house. She said it hadn't been rented in over a year. She told me the house was locked up and empty. No caretakers, no one with access. I thanked her and didn't tell her what I'd seen. That night I left all the lights off and stayed on the floor behind the couch, just watching. Around 10, the light came on again. This time there was something in the window. A shape, not a silhouette exactly. More like the feeling of someone there, just behind the glass, still and centered in the glow. No movement, not even a shift in weight, just a vertical presence. I blinked, and it was gone. But the light stayed on until dawn. That morning, I packed up. I wasn't supposed to leave for 2 more days, but I didn't care. I threw everything into the car and didn't even bother with the checkout instructions. As I pulled away, I looked in the rearview mirror. The house across the lake was still there, still dark. I stared until the trees swallowed it, but just before the curve in the road, I thought I saw a second reflection in the glass of my own house, something tall and thin standing near the deck rail. I didn't stop to find out what it was. We were burned out, overworked, overstimulated, and suffocating in our own routines. So when we found a lake house that advertised no Wi-Fi, no TV, no signal, it felt like an actual escape, like stepping off a carousel that had been spinning for too long. The place was beautiful too, a modern A-frame tucked into the woods overlooking the glassy water. Everything creaked like it had settled into its own silence years ago. No nearby houses, no roads visible from the porch, just trees, water, sky. The idea was to do nothing. Read books, make pancakes, play cards. It worked. For a while. The first day we both felt like we were floating, untethered and clean, like everything in the world was paused. It was the second morning when I dropped my toothbrush behind the bathroom sink cabinet. I crouched to grab it and something small caught my eye, tucked into the vent near the baseboard. It was a camera, not some clunky old nanny cam, a sleek, modern, almost invisible little device with a black lens angled directly at the bed. I just stared at it for a minute. My brain refused to accept what it was. Then I pulled off the vent cover and took it out. It had no identifying marks, no brand, no wiring, just a battery pack and a blinking red light, still active. I called out to my partner and we started checking the rest of the house. We found another camera in the bookshelf in the living room, camouflaged behind some old travel guides. Another in the kitchen cabinet above the stove, barely visible through a slatted vent. One behind the thermostat. One inside a smoke detector. 7 total, all hidden, all pointed inward. They weren't security cams. Not a single one was facing a door or window. Every one of them was aimed at us. We stopped talking after that. We didn't feel alone anymore. Not just watched, observed. I stepped outside to get signal and called the rental company. I didn't go into detail, just said we'd found recording equipment and wanted to know who'd been there last. They asked if we'd called the police. I said no, not yet. They said they'd get back to us. About an hour later, the house phone rang, an old beige thing mounted to the kitchen wall. We didn't even know it worked. The caller ID showed a number, local area code, no name. I picked it up. The voice on the other end was calm, casual, male, probably mid-40s. He asked if we were enjoying the property. I asked who he was. He said he was the owner, said he got an alert that the front door had been opened longer than usual, said it wasn't a problem, just wanted to check in. I asked him why there were cameras in every room. There was a pause. Then he said, "Oh, you found one?" That was it. We didn't wait for the rental company to call back. We didn't pack neatly. We left the cameras on the coffee table and threw everything else into bags. When we drove away, I watched the trees for movement, for a car, for anything following. Nothing came. We stayed in a motel that night, one of those weird places on the edge of town with vending machines that don't work and keys that don't unlock on the first try. I checked every corner of the room, every smoke detector, every vent. I still check. I don't know where the footage went or how long it had been recording. Maybe years. Maybe just us. I looked up the property a few weeks later. The listing was gone, but another one popped up. Different title, same photos, different host name, same kitchen wallpaper, same vent over the bed. There were 4 of us. 2 couples, close friends since college, renting a lake house for a long weekend. It was the kind of trip we'd talked about for years, but never actually planned. Someone finally booked it on a whim, early summer, just before peak season, still cool at night, but warm enough to sit on the dock with beers in our hands and let the sun recharge us. The house was nice, rustic, but clean. A big wraparound porch, a dock that creaked when you walked on it, and windows everywhere. You could see the lake from almost every room. The key was in a lockbox on the doorframe. We were told there was just one, so we left it in the bowl by the door when we didn't need it. That first day, we unpacked, grilled dinner, and stayed up late playing cards and drinking cheap wine. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, we noticed something small was missing. A pack of batteries we'd brought for the flashlight. We figured someone left them in the car or never packed them. Then a hoodie went missing, someone's phone charger, a pair of flip-flops. At first we chalked it up to chaos. Stuff gets misplaced. But then the back door was cracked open when we came back from town. We'd all left together, every light off, every door locked. We were sure of it. Inside, nothing was broken, nothing stolen. But there was a weird feeling in the air, like someone had opened all the windows and then shut them again right before we got there. The rooms felt disturbed. We blamed the wind, the old lock, ourselves. But that night I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the hallway, at the line of light under the door. I had this crawling feeling, like something was being moved around outside of my control, like I was sleeping inside someone else's routine. Around 2:30 a.m. I heard a sound, not loud, just the soft turn of a doorknob. I held my breath. There was no knock, no voice, just the faint click of metal turning against wood. I got out of bed slowly, heart pounding, stepped toward the door. When I opened it, the hallway was empty, but the front door was cracked, just slightly. Everyone else swore they hadn't gotten up, said I probably dreamed it. But I know what I heard. The next morning I went outside before the others woke up. I walked the perimeter, just looking. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. Under the porch, one of the boards was loose, not rotted, removed. I pried it up and found a tin box wedged in the dirt. It was rusted but not old. Inside were 4 things: a spare key to the house, a local map with the house circled and lines drawn to the dock, the driveway, and each bedroom window, a roll of electrical tape, and a small black flashlight with dead batteries. There was also a 5th item that I didn't recognize at first, a torn-off corner of a photo, just a blurry section of someone's hand resting on a railing that looked a lot like the one on our back deck. I didn't show the others. I just closed the box and put it back. I spent the rest of that day watching the trees, the road, the dock. Nothing came, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't being watched from outside the house. That night, we locked every door and window. We even dragged a chair in front of the back door. We told jokes to keep things light, acted like it was no big deal. Around midnight, the power went out. Just a clean cut. No flicker, no warning. Total darkness. We lit candles, sat in a circle in the living room waiting for it to come back on. After an hour, we decided to sleep. I laid awake in the dark, listening. At 3:17 a.m., the hallway creaked, not loudly, just a step, then silence. The power came back on an hour later. Everything turned back on at once. The fridge humming, the heater ticking, a lamp someone forgot to switch off. The next morning, the front door was locked, but the lockbox was gone. There was no sign of forced entry. Nothing was broken. We left early. We didn't talk about it on the drive back. I called the rental company later that week, told them about the lockbox, about the missing items. They apologized and said the owner lived out of state and hadn't been there in months. I asked how many spare keys existed. They told me just one. But someone had been coming and going like they owned the place. Someone had been waiting.